What's happening, folks? Welcome back to another fun episode of Talking Paranormal. This week's going to get dark.
It's gonna be real dark. I mean, it's gonna be a good time.
It is. For a long time, Matt and I have discussed doing some true crime on the show. Not committing it, but talking about it. Um, and one topic that we've definitely, you know, spoke about before are serial killers. And it's super popular in the world of true crime. So, what better way to launch our little true crime series than talking about a very notorious serial murderer named Edmund Kemper. Um, I don't know about you, Matt, but I've done I've listened to plenty of podcasts, watched plenty of documentaries on serial killers, and there's some that, like, I don't know, stick out more than others, and they just stand out from the crowd. And it's a pretty messed up crowd. Edmund Kemper is one of them, right?
Bro, he stays at the top.
There's just there's something there's something vile about this guy. Not that he's more or less vile than any of the other serial killers, because they all have their own heinous acts of crime. But some of the things that Kemper did were just, I mean, they were gnarly.
Yeah, they were. Whew.
And
I mean,
the guy was he was twisted. He really was, but he was smart.
he's highly intelligent,
Yeah.
and that's actually something my wife and I were talking about this evening, just before I got on the show. We've been watching to put Bubba to sleep. I've been watching Planet Earth on Netflix with David Attenborough
Oh, okay.
narrating. Puts him right out. And we were watching this killer whale pod hunt down a gray whale and her calf.
Oh, geez.
And like just the way they take down such large prey is brutal. It's absolutely brutal.
Oh, yeah.
And my wife asked me, she goes, "Does a higher IQ mean you're more sadistic?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, it stands to show that sometimes it depends on your situation." Because I mean, a lot of these serial killers are highly intelligent individuals.
They are. Do you think maybe they have a superiority complex?
1,000%. When you think you're the
Yeah.
most intelligent thing in the room or on the planet,
Yeah.
you absolutely think you're better than everybody else.
And that you can kill them because they're not, they're nothing.
They're just a plaything. They're an insect
Yeah.
to you,
God. Man, I couldn't imagine what it would be like going through life like that,
bro.
Or imagine being young, right? A young child, and maybe committing your first act of violence against an insect or an animal. A lot of them start hurting
Yeah,
animals. It's just depraved. But I wonder, because it's like like all these serial killers, it seems like most of them have at some point. I don't think I've heard of many serial killers that have actually been interviewed say that they didn't harm animals, or were very destructive when children. Um, I mean, I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure we'll come across a couple in our little expose of serial killers, but I wonder if they're just curious at first, and then they get that first kill, and then something inside them is just like, oh, this is what I want to do.
see,
And
I think they're bad from the get go, my man.
do you think they start off bad? Can babies be born evil?
I think they start off bad.
Wow.
I mean, huge psychology debate,
Yeah,
nature versus nurture.
sure.
Now, you can say some of it plays into how something or someone is raised.
Okay.
Like, look at pit bulls, prime example.
Yeah.
Some of the sweetest dogs I've ever met, but raised wrong, and they're absolute killing machines.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, it comes down to, is it in their nature to be that brutal, or and they just choose not to be,
Yeah.
or are they just raised to be that brutal, and they
Sure.
think they have no other choice? You know what I mean? So it comes down to, I mean, and that's why nobody's really got a definition. Like, it's amazing that they can even try to profile these guys.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. For instance, when I was a kid, uh, like animals like dogs and cats, I couldn't hurt, but and I would get sad if I found out that something with uh with eyes or that well, let me give you an example. We had this big metal gate when I lived in Seattle at my childhood home, and it had big metal rollers on it, and I would find worms in the yard and I would lay them on the rail and roll the gate and just watch them just get cut in half. And because I thought it was cool that both halves would still move, so I was super fascinated by it. And no, I don't think I was ever caught doing that.
How many
But,
bodies you got in your basement, you psycho?
a lot. But probably the most twisted thing I did as a kid, and I didn't realize it was twisted until my grandma caught me doing it. She used to have a fish tank full of angelfish, and she had one of those scraper tools where she could scrape the algae off of the glass.
Yeah.
And one day I was like, oh, I could stick it in there and play with the fish. And I stuck it in there, and I was slamming the fish against the the wall of the tank, and she caught me one day, and she was like, basically, oh my god, what are you doing? You're hurting the fish. And I never killed one, but I was entertained by it, and I didn't realize that they could feel pain. And she's like, you're hurting the fish. And I was like, I'm hurting them. She's like, yes, you're hurting the fish. And I felt super bad. So I do have remorse. There's been a couple other instances like you run over a squirrel or something, and I just feel bad about it. So I guess I'm not as twisted as maybe could have been considered. I mean, if I was a mailman and I walked up to a house to deliver mail, and this kid's like killing all these worms and just laughing and having a great time, I'd probably be like, that's a future serial killer right there.
Bro, I'll tell you right now, I pull over to help turtles. So
Do you? If one
Yeah.
slipped on its back, would you be like, oh shit, let me just help you out, buddy?
Dude, I get out of the car and help them across a busy road.
Yeah.
We doing hella gang shit out here.
Oh man, did you hear about the guy who helped the ducklings across the road and got killed?
Oh man.
Yeah, he was so traffic all stopped, right, for this family of ducks. And this
Yeah.
guy gets out and helps him across the street, right? And from what I understand, he's walking back to his car, and this teenage moron just mows him down, kills him.
Oh,
And I think his family was in the car with him. You know what I mean? And he's like, "Oh, I gotta save these ducks." Saves the ducks.
you
gets
know
hit
his
by
wife's
truck.
like, look at daddy helping the ducks.
Oh my god,
Oh, you know that's the conversation
Dude.
going on in that car.
that's the oh how cute, and then their dad gets run over. Oh my god, that is it's absolutely sad. But I just don't have I don't have it in me anymore. When you're a kid, you have all these curiosities and stuff, and I wonder if maybe these serial killers start off with just a natural curiosity, and then some of them enjoy it a little too much. You know?
I mean, I'll give you that one. It could just be that. But again, at the same time, that's something within them that was broken before. What?
Hold on a second. What is going on? Siri got triggered on my laptop and muted you and started saying, "I found how serial killers." I'm like, "What? What's going on here?"
Down,
Yeah.
computer lady.
Yeah, that was crazy. So what were we saying, Matt? Sorry.
I was saying like that's still something that's broken in them before they. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
it
you
has to
felt
be.
when you found out it caused pain.
Yeah.
You felt bad. When
Yeah.
they find out it causes pain, they don't give a shit.
Yeah, no, I remember this one time. So my dad would take me every weekend on the other side of the state to visit my mom, and there's like you drive through farm country, and I remember it was a slaughterhouse, and they'd have like the giant pen of cattle, and they had this big hill, and I was going, Dad, look at the cows, cool. And then I found out one day that all those cows were sentenced to death. And every time we went by there for like a couple years when I was super young, I would cry because I was sad about all the cows having to die. And then I learned that they were hamburgers and stuff, and I was like, oh my god. Never became a vegetarian though.
Bro, I'll tell you this much. Like, I raise cows, I don't feel bad for eating a cheeseburger. Cows are assholes. I've had to replace so much wiring on trailers because they would just yank it off. They'd chew on it and just pull it off.
Was that because they knew they were going to die? Or
No, it's just because they're assholes.
Yeah, I know.
You ever notice I walk with a limp?
Yeah, a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit of a limp. That's because one of the bulls kicked me in the knee one time.
Oh
Now,
my God.
before anybody's like, "Oh my God, this dude's Superman," he was a young bull. Like he was coming into his first season. He wasn't a full size bull, but still a fucking bull kicked me right in the knee because we were trying to give him shots, and I was trying to get him into the squeeze shoot part of it. And I'd never, will never, and have never felt bad for eating a steak, a cheeseburger, beef bratwurst, none of it.
Well, I mean,
You know, people say, "Fuck them kids, fuck them cows."
put yourself in his position. What if a bunch of cows are trying to give you shots? You're probably gonna kick one of them, right?
Bro, we were trying to give him his vaccination, turn him out with his Sheilas. He was going to get his bang on.
Oh man. Yeah, and unfortunately you can't you can't communicate to animals like, I'm trying to give you at least an all right life before I slaughter you so that other humans can eat you. You know?
Like, bro, you're about to have
Oh,
5 years of just hanging out in a field.
yeah. Five long fruitful years. You don't have to work, you don't have to pay bills. You just have to die at the end in a brutal way.
And see, dairy cows are worse because they lure you into that false sense of security. So you're so used to getting handled.
Oh man.
Like, you'd be like, "Oh, they're doing great," and then just randomly, they will kick out, try to stomp you.
Oh really?
Like, they'll be docile as all get out. You can gather them up just by walking through the field. Come on,
Yeah.
come on, and they just start going to the milk barn. You're like, "You see, docile beef cows." On the other hand, you know what you're getting. They're sons of bitches.
I mean, if someone's gonna play with my nipples every day, I kind of look forward to that, you know.
Oh God.
Oh man. I guess it just depends on if you work around them. I'm sure it's different. You know what I mean? But when you don't know shit, and then you see like the little news clips or like the videos where these animals are just getting fucked up, it's kind of sad when you see it. It's like, Jesus, can't we find a better way to kill them? Like, I don't know.
I mean, like I said, animal cruelty, that's a big no-no. Big no-no for
Sure,
us.
sure.
I mean, I like to think that my beef is humanely put down with that rail gun they shoot them with.
So explain to me how that works because I don't really
I've
know.
never been there. I don't know, buddy.
Oh, okay.
I don't
I
want to
thought
blow
you were
smoke up
involved.
your ass.
I thought you were involved in everything, and you're the
No,
knower of things, Matt.
I am the knower of things. From my understanding, it's like a giant bolt gun,
Okay.
and it's done.
Huh. I've seen videos of like pigs hung upside down, and they just go up and just cut their throat, and I'm like, oh my God.
The pig was already dead.
Oh, really?
Should have been.
And they're just draining its blood because
Yeah.
I swear I saw it like doing a little shimmy shake before
Well,
he
I
got
mean,
his
with
throat cut out.
with how fast that production line's going, you're probably still seeing some nerve switching.
Oh yeah, I guess so. God, and chickens. That's when I was a truck driver, I saw I I won't say the company, but I saw a chicken truck roll in, and they pack those fucking things, man. I'm like, Jesus. And then I hear like some of them don't have beaks, and some of the other ones get pecked to death, and I'm just like, this is some brutal shit. Like the whole farming industry is so brutal, or it can be anyway.
The farming industry isn't brutal. It's the industrial farms that are brutal.
Okay, fair enough.
Industrial farming is brutal. Like your mom and pop operation that
Yeah.
has been there for 3 generations.
Mhm.
No, it's not bad, but like I'm not gonna say the name. Oh, the beverage this evening, if anybody wants to know, is a Olani, I don't know, kiwi guava energy.
Oh,
I already chugged the Angry Orchard, so I can be good and ready.
I have this guy right here, but I don't know if I don't know if I had a buddy give it to me.
Oh fuck,
Um,
Old Forester.
yeah, never had it.
I mean,
Some whiskey. I
I
might crack that open because I might need a drink to talk about what we're about to talk about.
still got this guy that I'm nursing.
Oh, I see. On the sober side of things, I do have a Diet Pepsi over here. I wasn't feeling like a beer tonight. I was actually feeling like some whiskey, so I might pop that open depending on how this goes.
I mean, considering what we're about to talk about.
Yeah. Well, somebody, I won't call them out, but I'm sure they're going to end up listening to this, and they might even be watching it right now, said, hey, when you drink on the show, you know that like about a half an hour in, you start slurring, And I was like, are you serious? I haven't gone back and listened, but I was like, wow, I don't want anybody to think I'm an alcoholic, because this is really, on this show, is really the only time I drink, or
Well,
on live shows.
I'll be real. If you're an alcoholic, you wouldn't be slurring halfway through.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. You're right. Because I'm a lightweight. But let's talk about Edmund Kemper. What do you know about Edmund Kemper, Matt?
I know he was born December 18th, 1948.
Nice, nice.
He had several different aliases that the media gave him throughout.
Yeah.
Co-ed killer, co-ed butcher, ogre of Aptos,
Oh man.
the Mad Titan, and Big Ed. Now, for anybody that doesn't know about Ed Kemper, he was a mountain of a man. I think he might still be alive, but he was 6'9".
Yeah, big guy, big imposing guy.
Big dude.
Yeah. He's a character, man. Very, very, like I said earlier, very, very smart, super intelligent human being.
Highly intelligent.
But damn, was he twisted,
Bro.
About as twisted as they come.
Oh, he was a middle child.
Oh, really? I didn't know
he
had siblings.
He was an only child. Not only child, middle child, and the only son.
So he had to deal with his sister's shit all the time.
Yep.
Finally drove him over the edge. Yeah, I just know from the various things I've seen on him, the documentaries and stuff, that there's something that clicked with him when he was a kid, because he murdered his grandparents, from what I understand, or at least
15.
one of them. Yeah, at 15.
No, he murdered both of them.
Oh, he murdered both of them.
Mm-hmm.
He murdered one, and then one came home, and he just straight up shot him, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me. I found an article. I don't know how long it is, so maybe we'll cut it off short. But it started talking about his young life. So let's talk about this real quick. It's from allthat'sinteresting.com. They have an article about Edmund Kemper, and it's the disturbing crimes of Ed Kemper, the 6'9" serial killer who saved his grisliest murder for his own mom. After killing his grandparents at the age of just 15, Ed Kemper went on to murder 8 women between May 1972 and April 1973, often violating and mutilating their corpses afterward. The signs were there from the beginning. As a boy, Ed Kemper killed animals, decapitated his sister's dolls, and invented disturbing games. And at age 15, he murdered his grandparents, and there was no turning back. But when Kemper later confessed to killing 6 female hitchhikers in California in 1972 and 1973, as well as his mother and her best friend, the police didn't believe him at first. They knew and liked Big Ed, the 6'9" local man who was always hanging around and seemed like nothing more than a gentle giant. And like Matt said on the last episode, that for those of you that follow us on YouTube, episode number 46 was banned and pulled down because we watched an Apple commercial. So we'll have to get that back up, but the podcast should be okay, I think.
My bad, guys. I just thought it would really be interesting for the show.
Yeah. But yeah, he was. I guess he would hang out in the local bars talking to police, and they befriended the guy. In truth, he was anything but a gentle giant. Ed Kemper was a cunning serial killer who raped corpses, mutilated dead bodies, and buried his victims' heads in his backyard. His high IQ of 145 only made him more dangerous, as he used his intelligence to slip away from his crime scenes undetected. As chronicled in Netflix Mindhunter, which is a great show, by the way. If you've never seen it, I'm disappointed
Amazing
it got
show.
canceled. Disappointed, I'm pissed. Ed Kemper's murders were absolutely horrific, but his real story is far more chilling than any TV show could ever depict. This goes into his childhood, it looks like. Born on December 18th, 1948 in Burbank, California, Edmund Kemper presented troubling behavior from an early age. The future serial killer also had a tumultuous childhood. His mother, Clarnell Elizabeth Kemper, was an alcoholic who possibly suffered from borderline personality disorder. Her erratic behavior once led Kemper's father, a World War II veteran named Edmund Kemper II, to remark, "Suicide missions in wartime and the later atomic bombing tests or bomb tests were nothing compared to living with Clarnell." Damn, that's pretty brutal. She
That's rough.
right. She regularly berated Kemper's father for his menial job as an electrician, and she refused to coddle her son for fear it would turn him gay. In that turbulent environment, Kemper began to develop dark fantasies early on. Fueled by these thoughts, he started decapitating his sister's dolls. So that's what turned the guy. His mom's a bitch. You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, also, it's one thing I'm reading right here. His older sister pushed him deep into the pool, and he almost drowned. And then she later tried to push him in front of an oncoming train.
Jesus. Wow.
But yeah, okay.
Here's a quote from Edmund Kemper.
Wait on me.
He said, "I remember there was actually a sexual thrill. You hear that little pop and pull their heads off and hold them up by the hair." Kemper later said, "Whipping their heads off, their body sitting there, that'd get me off." In addition, Kemper forced his sisters to play disturbing games like electric chair and gas chamber. As if imagining where he might end up, Kemper had his sisters pretend to march him to his death. He once even stalked his second-grade teacher while carrying his father's bayonet. And when his sister Susan teased him about kissing the teacher, Kemper coldly responded, "If I kiss her, I'd have to kill her first." Good God. At the age of 10, Kemper's disturbing behavior escalated to violence. After his father left the family in 1957, the young boy killed both of the family's cats. He even buried one of the cats alive and later decapitated it. Meanwhile, without Edmund Sr. around, Kemper's mother began to focus her aggression on her teenage son. She made him sleep in the basement, claiming that he might hurt his sisters, and she regularly berated and insulted him, telling him that no woman would ever fall in love with him. At the age of 14, Kemper had enough. He ran away from his mother's house to live with his father, but by that point, his father had remarried another woman, and he sent his son to live with his grandparents. There, Edmund Kemper would become a killer for the first time. So that's when the killing began. He killed his grandparents as a teenager.
1964,
Yeah.
August 27th.
Gosh,
Bro.
Brutal. And that's when things got dark from there. You know, he didn't kill that many. You know, when you hear about serial killers, it's sad when you're like 10 people, that's it. You know, because you hear about these serial killers that kill 20, 30, 40,
Yeah.
50. And God knows there's probably serial killers out there that have killed way more than that. I'm sure. I've heard of them.
Bro, people disappear all the time. Like, and that's the thing that that I was talking to my wife about, and talking to some other people about, was police procedurals as TV shows make it seem like crimes get solved a lot more often than they do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cold cases. I mean, a lot of cold cases.
I mean, God, I kind of wonder how many active serial killers we have right now. It seems like the 70s and 80s, there was something going on. Like, I don't know what they were putting in the water, but it seemed like there were more serial killers then, you know, and they kind of...
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, you have to kind of look at, like, right now, as the 70s and 80s coming back around. But it's just a lot more deranged this time around.
Absolutely.
Free love whoever you want to love, do whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? And then it's when you have that kind of attitude and you're not vigilant and staying safe, that evil will find its way into doing great harm.
Absolutely. I you know, the media is partially to blame. You know, if I'm a serial killer and I'm twisted, right? I get my first kill. Nobody knows about me, and I'm like, man, that got me off. You know, killing people is what gets me. And I start murdering more hookers, you know, murdering hookers, let's say.
Yeah.
And I keep doing it, and then all of a sudden they start finding the bodies. And I've always been a nobody. Everybody's always told me I was a piece of shit. Never get married. I've been an incel until I found prostitution.
Yeah.
And then the media catches wind of my crimes. And I start seeing it. And I go, whoa. these people are talking about me, and they're sensationalizing my horrific acts of violence. And I think that's when I, I kind of wonder how many of the serial killers really got off even more when their crimes were being sensationalized
Oh
by
yeah,
the media. You know what I mean? Like,
mass
holy
mass
shit.
shooters are mass shooters are the same way.
It's like I'm a movie star now. They said I'd be nothing, and look at me now. I'm killing people, and they're looking for me, and they'll never find me because I'm smarter than everybody else. You know?
Yeah, no, mass shooters are the same way. Like they have themselves so hyped up that they're going to be talked about and remembered.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it almost seems like we went from and it's the same thing. Let's not get it twisted. But it's like horrific, like very violent serial killers to mass shooters. And some of these mass shooters have killed more people than some of these serial killers. It's like, Jesus. God, it's just twisted when you start. If you go look up a list of all the most prolific serial killers, and you're gonna be like, there's that many people that have just, gone on rampages killing people.
Yeah.
Some of them eating people. You know what I mean? It's like, and we'll get into those stories on some other episodes. But there's been some serial killers that have done some. I mean, this guy's done some dark shit. There's some serial killers that have done even worse things. Which is like, God damn. Yeah, I don't know, but
So, if you don't mind, I'll talk about the first kills.
absolutely, let's hear it.
So like I say, August 27th, 1964, and I'm reading this, guys. Nobody can remember all this stuff off the top of their head. It's just we're doing it on video so you can see us reading it.
Sure.
So like we knew he shot his grandparents.
Yeah.
But here's how it went down. His grandfather had given him a rifle for hunting, but they confiscated it because he was using it to needlessly shoot animals.
Of course.
So they gave the guy a gun. He went out and just started waylaying things. So he got in an argument with his grandmother. He went and got that rifle, came back in, shot her in the head without any other words, and then shot her 2 more times in the back. Yeah, she saw him coming with it, and she said, "Oh, you better not be shooting birds again." And then bang.
Oh yeah, nope, not anymore. Like Jesus.
And then when the grandfather came home from the grocery shopping that he had gone to do, Kemper went outside and just shot him in the driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went out and shot him in the driveway, and then he called his mom.
Jesus. I wonder what he said to her.
He didn't say anything to her. When asked why he did it, he said, "I just wanted to see what it felt like to kill grandma." And then he killed his grandpa so they wouldn't have to find out that his wife was dead.
That was a mercy kill?
It was a mercy kill. That's what he said at court.
Wow. He must have liked his grandpa.
He really did, because he was worried about him being mad at him.
Could you imagine that, though? So your mom's a bitch, drives your dad away. Your dad gets another family. You leave your mom. You go to your dad. And your dad's like, I got some shit going on here. It doesn't involve you. See you later. Why don't you go to live with your grandparents? So the one man in your life left you because of your bitch mom. And then your dad shuts the door right on your face. I can imagine that just boiled him inside. His grandpa was probably the only person in his life that actually, was a good father figure. And that, so if it was a mercy kill, I imagine, if he hated his grandpa, he probably would have wanted him to see his grandma dead or his wife dead, so.
Well, what the court psychiatrist deemed was that was in his way, he avenged the rejection of his father and mother by killing his grandparents.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that plays into what you were saying. After that, he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia because his crimes were deemed incomprehensible for a 15-year-old to commit. We now know 15-year-olds can do such things.
Oh, man.
And then he was sent to Atascadero State Hospital, a maximum security facility in San Luis Obispo.
Oh, San Luis Obispo.
Yeah. Obispo, yeah. County that houses mentally ill convicts. And then once he was there, the psychiatrists and social workers there disagreed with the court's findings of paranoid schizophrenia and the fact that he had no interference with thought, no expression of delusions or hallucinations, and no evidence of bizarre thinking that goes along with schizophrenia. They also observed him to be intelligent and introspective. Initial testing measured his IQ at 136, over 2 standard deviations above average. Kemper was re-diagnosed with a less severe condition, a personality trait disturbance, passive-aggressive type. Later on in his time in the facility, he was given another IQ test, which gave a higher result of 145. So the dude was working circles around psychiatrists from the get-go.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Kemper endeared himself to his psychiatrist by being a model prisoner, and he was trained to administer psychiatric tests to other inmates. You talked about that last week.
Yeah.
He was a good worker, and that is not typical of a sociopath. He really took pride in his work. Sure, he did. Kemper also became a member of the JCs while in the facility and claimed to have developed some new tests and some new scales on the Minnesota multiphasic personality inventory, specifically an overt hostility scale. During his work with the psychiatrist after his second arrest, Kemper said that being able to understand how these tests functioned allowed him to manipulate his psychiatrist, admitting that he learned a lot from the sex offenders to whom he administered the tests.
Wow. Man, that's you're intelligent to do that kind of shit. Like, oh, I can manipulate this system.
Bro, that is chess. That is
my God.
That is chess. While everybody else around him is playing.
Yeah, that's brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Good God.
Jesus. So when I thought for a fun treat, we would actually watch a YouTube video on one of his interviews. He's done a lot. Like, he was really open. Once he was imprisoned, it seemed like he was really open-minded to, I believe, helping law enforcement, catch people like him. And I believe he turned himself in, right? Isn't that what happened? I think he turned himself in.
Hold on, I'm reading about his life in between arrests.
I just, when you're that intelligent, I question, even though he's twisted, if you're that intelligent, I imagine at some point you go, this is wrong. I'm really fucked up. But it's like, at what point was his last murder his mother? Or was it her best friend?
I think it was probably his best friend. Hold on, I'm looking right here. It was April 20th, 1973. He was engaged.
Wow.
Was awakened by her rival while she was in her bed reading books. Okay, so when he came home, she woke up, and then she was sitting in her bed reading a book because he woke her up. And then he came in, and she said, "I suppose you're going to want to sit up all night and talk now." And he told her, "No, good night." And he then waited for her to fall asleep. Then he snuck back into her room to bludgeon her with a claw hammer and slit her throat with a penknife. He then beheaded her and humiliated her corpse, as stated in the 1984 interview. He put her head on a shelf and screamed at it for an hour, threw darts at it, and ultimately smashed her face in. He also cut out her tongue and larynx and put them in the garbage disposal. However, this garbage disposal could not break down through the tough vocal cords and ejected the tissue back into the sink. That seemed appropriate, as much as she'd bitch about and screamed and yelled at me for so many years, Kemper later said. He hid his mother's corpse in the closet and went to drink at a nearby bar. Upon his return, he invited his mother's best friend, 59-year-old Sarah Hallett, over to the house to have dinner and watch a movie. When Hallett arrived, Kemper strangled her to death to create a cover story that his mother and Hallett had gone away together on vacation. He subsequently put Hallett's corpse in a closet, obscured any outward signs of a disturbance, and left a note to the police. It read, approximately 5:15 a.m. Saturday, No need to her for suffer anymore at the hands of this horrible murderous butcher. It was quick, asleep, the way I wanted it, not sloppy and incomplete. Gents, just a lack of time. I got things to do. Wow.
That's crazy. How about
Uh,
that though? The last words he heard from his mother is like, "Suppose you want to sit up and talk all night?"
I
Like, yeah,
mean, bitch to
no,
the end.
bitch, I don't. Like, good.
Um,
I hate to say it. This is gonna sound brutal and vile coming from me, but God, that had to feel good to finally just like that poor guy, And I hate
so
to say it like that, but fuck, man, when you're living with that shit and your mom is the whole reason why, well, maybe not the whole reason why, but a good portion of why you're so fucked up, and then you finally are like, I'm doing it because he murdered all those girls first, so it's almost
yeah.
like
Well, here's the thing. When asked why he turned himself in, because he did. He got high on caffeine pills and trucked and drove for over 1,000 miles.
what?
He had 3 guns and hundreds of rounds of ammunition in the car because he figured he was the target of a manhunt. But then he never heard anything on the radio about his mom or her friend's murders. So he got to Pueblo, found a phone booth and called the police, confessed to the murders of his mother and Hallett, but the police didn't take him serious and told him to call back later. So several hours later, he called again. So then he called somebody that he personally knew, one of the officers he personally knew from hanging out at the bar, the jury room, confessed, and then he waited for them to come and get him. When they got him, he confessed to the murders of the 6 students. When asked in a later interview why he turned himself in, Kemper said the original purpose was gone. It wasn't serving any physical or real or emotional purpose. It was just a pure waste of time. Emotionally, I couldn't handle it much longer. Toward the end there, I started feeling the folly of the whole damn thing, and at the point of near exhaustion, near collapse, I just said to hell with it and called it all off. He got bored with it.
Wow. What a pussy, though. He had to take caffeine pills to drive 1,000 miles. What a puss. uh, yeah, it's man, what a fucking twisted son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Good God.
Got bored with it, so he turned himself in. Good gosh.
Wow.
But
I
here you
see
go.
that he had a thing for Asians, it looked like.
He might. I mean,
He killed a couple of them.
killed a couple.
Oh.
In his trial, and this is what we were talking about earlier about them being higher, thinking they're higher. He felt like they were his possessions, and he wanted them for himself. That's why he killed them and decapitated them and kept their heads.
Oh, apparently he also participated in cannibalism. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Huh. They gave him truth serum? What the fuck?
It took the jury 5 hours to decide if he was sane and guilty.
That might be a debate. When you get into these trials,
bro, insane or not.
True, but you have to understand, at a trial, they're trying to figure out, because of course his defense attorneys are going to try as hard as they can to get him the insanity plea so that he doesn't get put to death.
Well, yeah, because defense attorneys are worse than the criminals.
Right? What kind of a job is that? You got to sit with these people and figure out how you're going to defend them. But as in defense of a defense attorney, I'm going, this guy's fucking insane. He's not a normal person. No normal person does this. He can't just go to jail. Fuck.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, this was the 70s. So, yeah, I mean, he was one of the first.
God. Yeah, that's...
However... Yeah, I mean, he's serving life, obviously.
I gotta see here. Ed Kemper, cannibal.
See, I'm not seeing anything about him doing cannibalism. Asian. I mean, they all did kind of look similar. One of the girls he killed was a 15-year-old student.
Oh, here we go. Hold on a second. See if I can. Da, 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 da. Stupid ads always get in the way. Da, 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 da. I just. Damn it. How are you going to have a. Oh, here we go. Okay. This is actually from Wikipedia. Right here. Yeah. Three court-appointed psychiatrists found Kemper to be legally sane. One of the psychiatrists, Dr. Joel Fort, investigated his juvenile records, and the diagnosis, and this was when he was a juvenile, obviously, was that he was once psychotic. Fort also interviewed Kemper, including under truth serum, whatever the hell that is, and a little Coors Light, and relayed to the court that Kemper had engaged in cannibalism, alleging that he sliced flesh from the legs of his victims, then cooked and consumed these strips of flesh in a casserole. Nevertheless, Fort determined that Kemper was fully cognizant in each case and stated that Kemper enjoyed the prospect of the infamy associated with being labeled a murderer. Sensationalized.
Yep.
Then Kemper later recanted the confession of cannibalism. I imagine if you... So let's dig into that a little bit. So he confesses under truth serum that he was a cannibal. Now, he later recants that. Does he recant it because he realizes how vile and disgusting it is? Did he say it in the first place to go, oh, I'm already being sensationalized, so I'm going to fucking make him think that I'm the worst of the worst? It's interesting that for being as smart as he did, he recanted it later. So if he was lying, why was he lying? If he was telling the truth, why did he recant it? Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Well, I'd like to... We've got a little bit of time left.
He's still alive and still trying to get out on parole.
Holy shit. Could you imagine if he got out? We should have him as a guest on the show.
Well, I mean, they've denied him parole every time. Like, starting in 1980, he was first eligible for parole. He's been denied parole since 1979. And there's been a few instances where he's waived his right for parole, waived the hearing. But he's up next. He's eligible again for parole next year.
Wow. Matt, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
If this guy, and this question goes to the chat too, yes or no, if this guy was released on parole, do you think he'd kill again?
Yes.
Because that's a long time to be harboring those feelings. You know what I mean? Good God. What do you guys in the chat think? Yes or no? Would Edmund Kemper, if paroled, kill again? I'm going to lean towards no, that he's been fully rehabilitated and that he's a good man of God. 1000%. I love it. That's the best answer, right?
That is the best answer.
Yes, 1000%, maybe. Yeah, man. Now, what I wanted to do is play one of his interviews.
Yep.
Now, he does have a couple. Now, I'm curious. Let's see. How old was he in his first interview? So he was born in 48. His, let's see here. So he would have been 36 in 1984, if my math is right. So we have an interview from when he was 36, and then another interview from when he was, let's see here. The next interview would be from 1991. So do you want older Ed Kemper when he got a little fat, or do you want a skinny, deranged, psychotic, thick glasses wearing psychopath?
Dude, let's do young.
Young? All right. Let me get this queued up here, folks. Wait a second. When it's all fresh in his mind. This should be interesting. He's had a lot of time he's a smart guy. You know, if we listen to the later interview, he might be saying some shit to placate people. You know what I mean? Let's see.
I'll tell you right now, I agree with what Dutch is saying.
What's he saying?
He wouldn't make it a week before somebody put him down.
You think?
Bro.
You don't think the guy would go into hiding?
No, because in his mind, he's I guarantee in his mind, he's done his thing. He's done his time. It's over.
You might be right. Let's see here. Share tab audio, Chrome tab. All right. Hopefully this doesn't boot us. Here we go.
If there's an Apple ad, just kick it right off.
uh,
Knife. And I kept on it.
This one.
Well, I'm not an expert.
Okay, here we go.
Well, I'm not an expert. I'm not an authority. I'm someone who has been a murderer for almost 20 years.
Can you say how many people might be doing crimes like you were doing?
It would be a guess, but it's not. It's far more than 35. It isn't that impossible in this society. It happens.
Are there more people?
They didn't give up.
How many?
She didn't give up. I did. I came in out of the hole.
How brave is that dude to be sitting there with Ed Kemp?
There are some people who prefer it.
Not handcuffed.
A nice guy.
Did you like Kemper?
I like Kemper.
You were able to appear like an ordinary person, non-threatening to...
I lived as an ordinary person most of my life, even though I was living a parallel and increasingly sick life, other life. One victim let me back in the car. I locked myself out. She opened the door for me. My gun was under the seat. What in the hell am I doing telling you that? Am I a masochist? Am I looking to be tormented further? I'm trying to show you just how awful this got, how commanding these rages got. I was raging inside. There was just incredible energies, positive and negative, depending on a mood. That would trigger one or the other. And outside, I looked troubled at times. Other times I looked moody. Other times perfectly serene. Not very sane. But again, people weren't even aware of what was happening.
In 1972 and 1973, a series of murders shocked Northern California. College girls began to disappear while hitchhiking. Two of the victims were picked up from the campus of the University of California at Santa Cruz. That's where Ed Kemper's mother was working as an administrative assistant.
You were involved in the campus because your mother worked there.
Yes. I was also involved in killing co-eds because my mother was associated with college work, college co-eds, women, and had a very strong and violently outspoken position on men for much of my upbringing. My mother was a sick, angry, hungry, and very sad woman. I hated her, but I wanted to love my mother. And I watched the alcohol increase. I watched her social life drop off. I watched her get bizarre. She had terrible pain from her life, earlier life, her upbringing, a failed marriage with my father. I'm a constant reminder of that failure. I hate to distill it down into such into one-word realities like that. There's a lot that leads into that happening, but that is what happened. They represented not what my mother was, but what she liked, what she coveted, what was important to her, and I was destroying it.
You know, the last thing his mom said to him, just listening to him talk, I'm like, I bet this guy could talk your fucking ear off. You know what I mean? He seems like a talker, and I'm like, that might get a little annoying, if he thinks he's so fucking smart.
Bro, but I mean,
and you're drunk, and you're listening to this guy.
But the thing of it is, man, your parent. Like, I understand he was a grown ass man, but still, your parents should listen. Like, if you need to talk about something, you know what I mean? You should be able to count on your parent to be that, at least that very one person.
Absolutely. Could you imagine though? Like, he clearly said, all he wanted to do was be loved by his mother. You know what I mean? And he's trying to talk to her, have a normal conversation. She's drunk, so she's probably like, belittling him and berating him, like he said. He's probably like, Mom, I can't meet any women. And she's probably like, well, you're stupid. You wear those dumb glasses and you look like an idiot. Just saying the worst shit you could say to him. And it's just belittling him. So eventually, he didn't, he definitely didn't stick his wiener into a portal. But
why did you actually kill the girls?
My frustration, my inability to communicate socially, Sexually, I wasn't impotent, but emotionally I was impotent. I was scared to death of failing in male-female relationships. I knew absolutely nothing about that whole area, even if just sitting down and talking with a young lady. I need to be able to really communicate, and ironically enough, that's why I began picking people up, and I'm picking up young women, and I'm going a little bit farther each time. It's a daring kind of a thing. At first, there wasn't a gun. I'm driving along. We go to a vulnerable place where there aren't people watching,
Oh shit.
where I could act out.
Oh
and say, no,
shit.
I can't.
You've got to be shitting me right now.
Hey, Chris, that looks kind of familiar.
You know, I was thinking about this and I was like, we should try to find serial killers that could possibly have been in a Mopar. You know what I mean? Oh, God. I won't hear the end of this one. Jesus Christ.
And then a gun is in the car, hidden. And this craving, this awful, raging, eating feeling inside. I could feel it consuming my insides.
That's just the ballast resistor dude keeping extra in the glove box.
Yeah.
This fantastic passion. It was overwhelming me. It was like drugs. It was like alcohol. A little isn't enough. At first it is. And as you adjust to that psychologically and physically, you take more and more and more. It's the same process. So it finally came down to the thing of, do I dare bring this gun out? Already realizing if that gun comes out, something has to happen. It was going to happen. I didn't see it then, but it was going to happen. I was playing a dangerous game with a loaded gun. It got us all.
On one occasion, Kemper picked up 2 roommates in Berkeley.
In that first killing in May of '72, when that gun was pulled out, I launched it out. I had it under my leg, out of sight, parallel to my leg in the seat. It was something that had been thought out in fantasy, acted out, felt out hundreds of times before it ever happened.
Kemper drove them at gunpoint to a secluded area near a park. He took one of them into the woods, leaving the second girl tied in the car.
I just gone through a horrible experience with her roommate, stabbing her. And I was in shock because of that. I couldn't believe that it was that way. And I'm walking back there bewildered. I gotta kill her. I can't let her go. She's gonna tell him. Everybody's gonna get me. She sees the blood on my hands. What are you doing? She pulled back and she gasped. And I think, whoa, I don't want her to know what happened. I said, your friend got smart with me. She'd been getting really smart with me a lot, but I never hit her. I killed her, but I didn't hit her. I said, your friend got smart with me and I hit her. I think I broke her nose. You better come help. She's about to die. Why does she have to know that? I couldn't deal with telling her that. And when I attacked her, she didn't at first realize what was happening. It didn't go through. She had very heavy coveralls on. It knocked her right up into the lid of the car, but it didn't pierce the clothing. So it wasn't that swell a knife anyway. I went out and bought a pawn shop, huge knife.
What a cheap ass.
And I kept on just mindlessly attacking. She falls back into the trunk. I just killed a young woman. I slammed down the lid of the trunk. She isn't dead. She's dying. And I panicked. I thought I just locked the car keys in it because I can't find them in my pocket. Oh my God, I locked them in the trunk. I'm kicking on the trunk lid and yanking on it. Oh no, I don't believe this. I started to run and I tripped over the gun that I'd had in my pants that I had totally forgotten was there. I stopped. I said, stop and think. I collected my wits. Check all your pockets. I picked the gun up. I stuck it back in my pants, now remembering I had one. I checked all my pockets, and there's the keys in the back pocket. I never put them in my back pocket.
Everyone makes mistakes, and that's what we have to hope for. The more mistakes they make, the better their chances.
I thought I was pretty slick and went and tripped all over myself. That first 2 murders, the first 24 hours, there were 3 clear times I should have been busted, and I wasn't. Because 3 different individuals or 3 different groups of people got scared and minded their own business and looked the other way.
some of the people who are committing murders, even as we speak, if they're doing it by themselves and they tell no one about it, they could go on undetected until they decided to stop. And the police wouldn't catch them unless we just happened to roll up on them while they were doing it.
Shit.
Even after police warnings against hitchhiking and an increased bus schedule on the campus, Kemper had no trouble picking up hitchhikers. Ironically, one warning advised riding only in cars with university stickers. Kemper's car had
Oh, how
such a
hard was it?
sticker.
Oh my God.
My mother worked at the campus, and I had an A sticker on my car, and obvious access day or night to the campus. I was picking up some very lovely young women. You know what we were talking about as we're driving around? Almost as often as not, this guy that's going around doing this stuff. And the second they started talking that, they didn't realize it, but they were getting a free ride. I couldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, I swear. You know, but they'd be telling me what all about this guy, and they're
Wow.
comparing notes and speculating on what he looks like.
So, if he picked up a hitchhiker and she was talking about the murders and the guy, he wouldn't kill him.
Right.
Interesting.
Dude,
How he
it's
carries
the
himself,
fame.
why he's doing
That's
this
crazy,
stuff,
right?
telling me about it.
So how come they get in a car with somebody at that
She
time?
judged me not to be that guy. I didn't look like it. It was getting easier to do. I was getting better at it. I was getting less detectable. I started flaunting that invisibility, severing a human head, 2 of them at night in front of my mother's residence, with her at home, my neighbors at home upstairs, their picture window open, the curtains open, 11 o'clock at night, the lights are on. All they have to do is walk by, look out, and I've had it.
Why did you keep the heads? Why did you cut them off, and why did you keep them?
Something out of my childhood. I could put it on an incident. I mean, my father chopping the heads off of our 2 pet chickens, and my mother insisting that I eat them for dinner. You know, we could say it was something that simple. I don't think it was. Now, my dad heads out back with a hatchet. I got on my bike and I tried to stop it. I remember that. I got on the bike, rode around the block. I was crying. I haven't talked about that for a lot of years. I'm sure
Wow.
that may have implemented something, that may have gotten something rolling, but along fantasy lines, but it took a lot of years of development.
Maybe some people get PTSD and then they react differently. I wonder if his PTSD led him to become a killer.
Maybe.
That sounds
But-
traumatic because he openly admitted that he doesn't talk about that shit. He hasn't talked about it forever. You know what I mean? Or thought
how
about
close was he to these chickens? Jesus Christ.
it. He had them named. Fuck.
Yeah. Regular and extra crispy.
Along those lines to really get off.
But how are you able to, in 1 minute, have someone's head in your hand, and very shortly thereafter?
Living through a fantasy, however that would relate to that severed.
He does look like Ned Flanders.
And then 5 minutes later, I'd put that away, and there'd be a knock on the door, and I'd put it away and answer the door. And the landlady would be there.
I apologize for this
We
audio
discussed-
quality, folks, but
Guess what?
this is
It's an old
this
interview.
is too good.
Her reality, not mine. Some people go crazy at that point. I felt it. It was one hell of a tweak. I mean, to just flip out and not know where I was. To be walking up the stairs with a camera bag that belonged to a young woman that had her severed head in it. Walking up to my apartment, past a happy young couple coming down the stairs who nodded and smiled at me as they went by. Good evening. And they're going out on a date where I'd love to be going. And I'm aware of both of these realities, and the distance between those two is so dramatic, so amazing, so violent, that really, I could feel the wheels squeaking inside. That was really pulling on it. And I imagine at that point, some people break. But I didn't literally go insane. I didn't get lost.
And all this time, Kemper was able to seem normal. He even hung out at a bar across the street from the courthouse, making friends with
The
police,
jury room.
trying to pick up information.
They'd buy me a beer, I'd buy them a beer. Casual relationships, but I was poking around a little bit trying to find some things out. I knew they wouldn't be privy to hot information, but There were some things that were bothering me, like were there any speculations on how they were dying?
Did the cops like you?
Like I said, a friendly nuisance. I got in the way, and it was deliberate. Again, friendly nuisances are dismissed.
How did you get the knowledge to outsmart the police?
Watching television, believe it or not. Joseph Wambaugh, police story. Got some tremendous insights into not just the gimmicks, the actual things, the tidbits that he would pick up from their procedures, but the mechanics behind that, the logic behind it, was I would not allow myself to walk into even a potential trap of behavior. And one of those was talking about those crimes too much to people, initiating conversations about that.
There was a memorial service for 2 of the victims.
Yes,
Were you tempted to go?
yes.
But
I'd seen one too many episodes of one too many crime shows where that is one of the available resources for clues. Tracking down the attenders, one man taking pictures of the people there to eliminate as potential suspects.
some police department, now they actually came to your house to pick up a handgun.
Sheriff's representatives. One of the detectives was upset because he heard I had a .44 Magnum pistol and was a convicted man. He came to take the gun away, and it was on he and his sergeant detective. They were staking out the wrong house. It was across the street, and I'm playing around with the car, standing next to the gun in the trunk. They come over and ask me about, excuse me, sir, do you know who lives in this house across the street here? Well, that house was 609 Harriet. He crossed back over to this side into 609 Ord, and they were looking for me and didn't even know that. See what I mean? Bad news. Well, at any rate, we walk into the house to have them ask my mother about this other house, and I'm saying, hey, which 609 are you looking for? And they said, are you Ed Kemper? Yes. And it goes on. And I needed to find out what they were looking for, the murder weapon, the .22 automatic, or the .44 Magnum. And I don't want to advertise that I've got a whole bunch of guns.
Wow.
So I made a comment to divine between the two. And I said, yeah, it's quite a little gun, isn't it? And he retorted, a .44 Magnum, I hope so. And I said, okay, because that loaded .22 was under the front seat and guaranteed me an arrest right on the spot. And the .44 was in the trunk. I forgot that. I took them in the house. We went into my bedroom, and the closet doors open, and I have a high-powered rifle with a scope on it.
You had some other stuff in the house too, yes?
Yeah.
Clearly, they didn't do
Personal
background
effects.
checks back then.
Identification.
Because the
No.
guy was in a
Co-ed
mental
that had been murdered
institution.
about 2
Fuck.
months before, right next to the guns in the closet, in a box.
Could he have seen it?
No, but when he arrested me for having all those guns and went through the rest of the closet looking to see if there were any pistols or anything else, he couldn't have helped notice a purse, a book bag, and co-ed ID inside of those belonging to their 2 latest murder victims. I back up and said, oh, excuse me. I just remembered so. And instantly he responds to what I'm saying. My hand moves. Back we go outside, and he's still thinking, boy, this is a really nice and helpful guy here.
Some of these people do what you and I do to become better killers. They practice their trade.
Didn't Kemper stop himself toward the end of his career?
Kemper says he did. He says he could have gone on. He said he had fantasies of killing dozens more people, of leaving a trail of bodies across the country, and at one point he just got on the telephone and turned himself in. He said it was time for the killing to stop. In his case, he said publicly that it was his mother that he was killing all along, and when he killed his mother, that was the end. It's a very deep psychological observation from himself. It may be very accurate.
It was springtime. It was April. And for 2 months I hadn't killed. I said, it's not going to happen to any more girls. It's got to stay between me and my mother. And I can't get away from her. We're still fighting. She's still belittling me. I'm like a puppet on a string, and I entertain her. She knows all my buttons, and I dance like a puppet with that pain. And it had even gotten physical, to where I had physically grabbed her and thrown her onto her bed, trying to emphasize a point that I'm threatening to kill her. So here I pick up these 2 young ladies in Berkeley on Ashby Avenue. One has flowers in her hand, petite little dolls. They're in granny dresses, and they're hitchhiking, a couple of real experts. I want to see how together I am, if I can resist this temptation.
You going to Walnut Creek? Great.
And they get in my car. They want to go one way. I know they need to go the other. If they go the way they're insisting on, we're headed right.
There was a
back out to
barracuda
where
right there.
the
Did you
first
see
two
Yep,
that?
I saw it.
were
Oh
murdered.
my God.
And I'm saying to
Rewind it.
myself, oh my God,
For those of
all
you
I
new
gotta
to
do
the
is
show,
relax,
Matt and
and they'll
I
take me
are
to their
car
death.
guys, specifically Mopar guys, so old Chrysler, Dodge and Plymouth muscle cars. And so that was the joke earlier because he was in a Dodge Dart. And here, Barracuda, where is that?
And they get in my car.
Wait
They want to
for
go one
it.
way. I know
Cuts
they
There it
right
is,
there.
right there.
If they go the
E-body.
way
Boom. Barracuda. Looks like a
Yep.
70.
they're insisting on, we're headed right back
Amazing.
out to where the first two co-eds.
What a
murdered.
treat for
I'm saying to myself, oh my
our
God,
car
all
guy
I gotta
listeners.
do is relax, and they'll take me to their death. I've got the gun in the car, the same one I've been doing it with. I insisted, as gently as I could. I took them where they needed to go, to their college.
Thanks a lot.
That was 1 week before I murdered my mother. I said, she's got to die, and I've got to die, or girls like that.
Do you think? Do you think he has like a little bit of a sense of humor? Like they're driving, he's like, "Man, I really kill for a cheeseburger right about now."
Bro, there's no telling.
Gosh,
I mean,
how crazy! You get in the car with a guy who's killed women and decapitated them, and you have no idea, and he just drops you off. I wonder if those women ever realized.
later we're like, oh my God.
Yeah. Wow. How
And
crazy.
that's when I decided I'm going to murder my mother. I knew a week before she died, I was going to kill her. And she went out to a party. She got soused. She came home, went to sleep. I was woken up by that. Came out. I walked up to her bed. She's laying there reading a paperback, as many thousands of nights before. And she said, oh, I suppose you're going to want to sit up all night and talk now.
What a bitch. What a bitch. Good
I
God.
looked at her. I said, no. I said, good night.
Is he crying? Oh my God. Here we go. He's breaking
I
down.
knew I was going to kill her,
Wow.
And I'm so cold. It's so hard. And that's the first time in 10 years.
Now is he crying because all he wanted was the love of his mother? And he finally
Right.
realized he had to kill her. Or like, why is he crying? That's a good, like, I'm curious. What is it about? Like, was it the fact that I should have just killed her all along? I killed all these innocent young women.
Probably a combination of that and the fact
Yeah.
that like the last thing she said to him was just really shitty.
It was really shitty. And there's got to be a point, if you're a guy like him and he knows that the only reason why he's done these vile things, maybe the only reason, well, at least the one that he pins, is his mother. You know what I mean? Like, God, that's got to be fucking rough.
I've looked at it that way. I mean, that intensely, that honestly. It hurts. Because I'm not a lizard. I'm not from under a rock. I came out of her vagina. See? Came out of my mother. And in a rage, I went right back in. For 7 years, she said, I haven't had sex with a man because of you, my murderous son. It's one of our arguments. I cut off her head, and I humiliated her corpse. So there, a 6 young woman dead because of the way she raises her son and the way her son
There's
is
the answer.
raised, the way he grows up. And what's her closing words? I suppose you want to sit up all night and talk. God, I wish I had.
Your grandmother and her daughter-in-law, your mother, were two women very important in your life, and you killed them both. Could you say what they were like that led them to the same fate?
Same thing that kept them from ever being friends. They were both aggressive. matriarchal women. They'd been the daughters of strong matriarchal women. I still loved my mother, and it's hard for somebody to comprehend that you murder your mother through love. It isn't a rational process. It's a very painful process. It isn't rational, and I've got to still live with that.
Why did you wind up giving yourself up?
It had to stop. It had to stop. Once my mother was dead, there's almost a cathartic process at that point. I got physically ill right then when she died, when I murdered her. And once she was dead, there was no way I could back out. I had backed down from giving up 1,000 times. You know, I used to get drunk and go sit out in front of the sheriff's department in a parking lot across the street on one of those old concrete parking berms. And I just sit there and say, no, I still can't. The clanging doors, I could still hear them. No, because it'll never open again. You know, so I rationalized that to give up would be insane. To give up would be crazy. I'd be giving away my freedom, and I don't need to. But I look back on that and wish I had earlier when I was saying those things to myself. The people who were later dead wouldn't be. The regret that came later would have not had to be.
Regret
Yeah.
that
Those
he would be
people,
locked
not
up.
things, those people would still be with their families, with their loved ones.
So it might be some
They would
remorse
have
we're
their own
seeing
family.
from the killer.
If I
Yeah, but
had the
but keep in
courage
mind,
to
this
make
guy
that
also learned how
decision,
to work his way around.
instead of painting myself into the corner.
Where might you be if you'd never given in to the impulse to murder?
Where might I be? If my parole had been successful, I believe I'd be married, I'd have children, I'd be heading toward my first grandchildren.
Dude, I think.
Hyundai Ioniq
Nope,
6.
not
versus
today.
Stop it!
Knife.
I think that
And
I think that he's playing him. He's like, he knows he's already caught. He's already caught. He's already locked up.
Yeah.
He knows he's going to be going up for parole many times.
Oh,
As long as
playing.
he's alive.
He's playing here.
Wow. Oh my
I mean, he's admitting to everything, but like the remorse and everything, he's playing.
I would love to see, because there are body language experts out there and people that can see through bullshit really easily because they've studied the shit. I wonder, I mean, if I was one of those people, I would love to just sit and listen to these interviews and watch these killers and see if I can decipher maybe some of their body language. Because there was a couple times in there where I'm like, I think his wheels are turning of like, what could I say that makes me humanize me a little bit instead of depict me as this monster, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. What a crazy interview. Where are we at on time?
Hour 13.
God, I kind of want to see if there's a difference. Let's watch a little bit of this one. Unless you got to go, Matt. You got to go?
I mean, no, I'm good, man.
All right, you let me know. I'm curious what he's like later.
How is this even worse?
Oui, l'été pour plus.
Mais ils sont dans le fond.
This is the French interview. He did an interview with a French author. Look at him back there.
So this is 7 years later. Let's see. In 7 years, let's see if his tone has changed.
What about the balls on that lady, though? She's in there with an unchained Ed Kemper. Just back there chilling. Talking him out.
Dude, I bet he's behind bars. I bet he's the nicest guy. I bet he's nice to all the guards. He's playing everybody. Because if he does anything out of line, at least when he goes to his pro, he'll be like, I'm nice to everybody. Shit, I'm a good guy. I just made a
Everybody
mistake. It was
loves
my
me,
mom.
man.
It was my mom. She's dead. God.
That wasn't me. That was Patricia.
Now, in the other interview, he had said that his mom had said she hasn't had sex with a man in 7 years, whatever, due to her murderous son.
He lived with her.
Yeah, but how cold is that to talk about him murdering his? Because I mean, I'm sure she knew he murdered his grandparents. The fact that lady had some balls. You know what I mean? You're gonna murder grandma and grandpa, and they haven't been as much, as much jerks as I've been to you.
I mean, talk about really facing down the barrel and being like, "You ain't got the balls."
That bitch is hardcore. My God, talk about gangster.
She'd
Jesus.
look at the predator and be like, "What? You got camouflage."
Until she saw the wrong end of that Stanley hammer coming down onto her skull. Good God, man. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, he killed his mother with love.
Murderous son. God, you take a shot at him for the most. Your life is ruined because he's a piece of shit and killed his grandparents. Jesus. Suppose you want to sit up all night and talk again. My God, what? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt your trashy romance novel? God. Oh, that's okay. Let's hear this.
Reading a paperback. We know what that's code for.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Stefan Beauvoir.
I guess I didn't even ask him that, just proffered the information. That he wouldn't hesitate a second to pull the lever on any serial killer, right? And I'm thinking, gee, he just killed me. You know? If you stop and think about it, if I were to have been executed in a timely fashion, they would have had absolutely no input. And they'd be scratching their heads about what makes a serial murderer tick.
Okay, pause it for a second.
All jumping up to give their opinion.
Now he's getting cocky.
He's getting cocky, but this is where he's talking about how they started with him when they started forming the profiling database.
The behavioral analysis unit.
Yep.
Yeah, now he's caught. Yeah, because now he's got a new reason to be interesting.
Yep, that's what this is.
All right. Been doing for a lot of years, and unfortunately, they don't hit too well. They don't have too good of a track record.
He's a little smarmy.
I'm not sure whose name. We need to put one specific name down here. Who should we?
That would include serial killer, obviously.
Yeah, but obviously, very few of them could if there was only 35 serial killers.
No, they're talking about close to 100.
Oh, the mustache stroke.
Right now.
He's an asshole.
Yeah.
He's an asshole.
That wasn't John
Because
Douglas,
you also have to include...
Interruption.
No, I'm saying and his cohorts.
Yeah.
They were saying as a unit. The BSU was saying. And having come from that genre, in the having been locked up and through the dregs, and knowing some of those characters and watching how easy it was for me to stumble into what I did. I didn't go into it pre-planned or anything, but I couldn't believe that was a unique act. You know, that no one else could find that out. And that's just one avenue into it. Because, you know, while a lot of people can stereotype the type of criminal that a serial killer would be, society has to loosen up its belt a bit and admit that jailers, like at the Tucker farm down in Arkansas, who get tired of recalcitrant troublemaker inmates, take them out back and kill them and bury them, are serial killers.
Oh, hey, Matt.
Motherfucker.
Different motive. But, so, you know, it's a wide range of activities that get included in something like that.
He's definitely gotten more egotistical.
We've had that 100 years ago in the Old West, where someone would set up a boarding house and people who came by never left. Whole families, individual travelers would go on for years before they.
I wonder what kind of books he reads. I imagine he reads a lot of books.
Things I've read about.
Yeah.
Oh, well, what do you know?
Also in the 1890s stuff. Yeah.
Poisoners, people like that.
What a smug dick.
No,
What's up with this shit?
Would say, oh yes, I'm doing my time and I'm miserable. And they say, good. You know, that's not what it's about.
Huh?
Uh-oh, we're getting serious now. I can tell.
The tape is rolling. Could you tell us how long you've been in prison?
Excuse me. This month is 18 years that I've actually been in prison.
What were you convicted of?
8 counts of first-degree murder.
What was your sentence?
7 years to life.
7 years to life.
CC, that's called concurrent. It means all the sentences run at the same time.
That means they run consecutively?
Oh, no, that's the opposite of consecutive.
Yeah.
Consecutive would be one at a time, and of course, you can't serve multiple life sentences. But
Fucking guy.
there was some question before my case that whether on the legality of that. So when my case went through, the judge sentenced me to one term of 7 to life, which at that time was the maximum non-death penalty, and all to run concurrent at the same time.
In considering your crimes and crimes done by other serial killers, what do you think society should do in generally with serial killers?
Do with them?
Yes.
It's a difficult question to answer from my point of view because I'm obviously an involved subject. So any answer I would give that would be other than the death penalty would sound very self-serving. I look at people who, on the surface, don't have any redeeming qualities whatsoever. They don't do anything or say anything or behave in any way that would make your average person want to save their life, want to keep them alive, and feed them and house them and clothe them for decades. But when I first came to prison, I had much the same attitude. It was a very defensive attitude, very self-preservative attitude, because those immediately about me were very much set on destructive attitudes toward me. So I put up screens, so to speak, to screen out those feelings. Excuse me, and those reactions to me. I'm driving your sound lady crazy here. Over.
Also, when you feel you need to redo an answer, you can do it. You know, it's no
I don't
problem.
have any problem with that. No. I understand.
Yeah.
The problems involved. I had to do a whole interview over once because the lady wouldn't check her audio tape recorder. I kept saying, you better check it and make sure it works first.
Oh, you're the audio engineer.
2
All
hours
right.
later,
You're the
we're doing it
producer.
all over again.
This guy.
She was ready to cry, I'm telling you. I guess I could have, but that was where the pen was mightier than the sword, right? The only interview I did back at the time of my case. This is just a little anecdote.
Let me ask you something, Matt.
Wait on me.
Would you, if given the opportunity, go to prison and interview this man?
Would I sneak in a carbon fiber pistol and just take him out? Yes.
Seriously, would you? You want to talk to this guy?
I mean, it'd be an interesting interview, but here's the thing. What could we ask that hasn't been asked? In all his decades of doing interviews and everything else, what could we ask that hasn't been asked?
I'm sure we could come up with a couple things.
That would make sense. That would be a reasonable question to ask.
I would look him dead in the eye. I'm sure it's been asked, but I've never seen an interview on it.
Yeah.
I would ask him some harder questions like, do you think you're smarter than me? Like, it's just, I would ask him questions that would be a blanket insult to see if he ends the interview or if I can get a rise out of him. And it wouldn't be like, I won't be a dick about it, but I'd be a dick about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you got to realize 6'9", like by today's standards, still tall, but not unreasonable. Because
I'd have you there. I'd have you there.
Man,
we'd be okay.
I'm telling you right now, I'm a big dude, but 6'9" is a whole other class of.
He's old. He's old. He's been fucking eating jail food. He's fine. And he ain't hurting nobody.
Have you seen some of them dudes coming out of prison? They yoked. All they got to do in there is work out.
Ed Kemper ain't yoked. I promise you that.
No, he's definitely a bookworm, but
I do work with a guy. He's a buddy of mine. He's 6'7".
Okay.
And when you look at somebody that tall, it is very imposing. However, there have been moments where I've looked up at this gentleman and I thought 6'7" ain't that big. I mean, it's almost a foot taller than me, but like, I don't know. Height really doesn't intimidate me as much as like personality. Now, if I said, "Do you think you're smarter than me?" and if he said something to the effect of, "Well, I know right now I could reach across this table and fucking rip your eyeballs out and feed them to you if I wanted to," I'd be like, "Whoa!" Then I'd probably get a little chill up my spine, and I'd probably say something that would probably get me booted out of the interview. Like, you're
Because
not thinking about
you gotta remember
decapitating me, are you?
these folks are interviewing. Now, granted, I know there's a guard in the room, you know,
Sure.
but this dude's not cuffed, not shackled, nothing
Sure.
impeding his motion, his movement, and they're within striking distance talking to him. Do you think they're going to ask some real hard-hitting questions, or are they going to kind of softball him?
He couldn't even kill his mother with his bare hands. He had to use a hammer, and then he punched her face in. He's a chicken shit, dude.
But you got to understand you hear what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Without looking at what he is as a person, listen to what I'm
Sure.
saying.
Sure.
These people,
Yeah.
first of all, they're French, so in a room with a giant, of course they're going to ask soft-hitting questions. They're not going to ask him anything
Sure.
real. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, what could we ask that would add to what needs to be known about Ed Kemper, outside of us just going to poke the bear?
It'd be poking the bear, dude. I'd be poking it
it's
with both hands. Just fucking, "Ah!"
1,000% just poking the bear.
Oh, I'd have to wait. They'd never let me in because I'd probably I'd want to ask him something that really just I want to rise out of him. Just because I want to go, I know you think you're smarter than everybody, but I'm gonna get you to just amp up a little bit, just so I can see him pissed. I wonder if he's ever been in jail. I wonder what he gets pissed off about. You know, I don't know.
Man, you gotta realize. I wonder. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, what
gets under Ed Kemper's skin? What pisses him off?
It has to be probably just calling out his intelligence.
What if I asked him a really important, like a really deep question, and he was talking, and like right in the middle of it, I said, "Whoa, we don't need anything too deep and detailed here, okay?"
You just interrupted him and moved on to a different question.
Yeah, like okay, that's enough. That's all we need for that one. We don't have all day. You
know what? That would be what got him. Guarantee you that'd piss him off.
Oh man. Oh God. And then like you ask him soft hitting questions the whole time, and then you ask him a really deep one. And then like he has something profound, and you just say, no, whoa. I don't need you to write a fucking book, Ed. Okay.
My buddy just said what would piss him off would be somebody stealing his pudding cup.
Oh God.
I was reading he behavior trained a fellow prisoner that would sing real loud while everybody else was trying to watch TV. He'd literally throw water on them to make them stop. And if they were quiet, he'd give them peanuts.
Like animals?
Yeah.
That's what we do to our dogs. We like spray them with a spray bottle.
Yeah. No, for real though. But for real, he got this guy to where he'd ask Ed if he could sing. Instead of just doing it, he'd ask for permission.
Wow. That would be that's Scott, ask him if he likes cream cheese on his bacon. You know what I'd ask him? I'd go, "Ed, do you like your eggs scrambled or do you like them over easy?" And if he's like, "I like my eggs over easy," or he'd probably go against what I say. Probably, "I like them, whatever. Son, I like them poached." And I'd be like, "How'd your mom like her eggs?"
So if we're gonna go in and do this, so I'm assuming that's what you're building up to, is trying to get an interview with Ed Kemper.
Dude, I absolutely will try and figure out how we even go about that.
That's what I figured. So if we're gonna do it, we need to go at it like Zach Galifianakis on Between Two Ferns.
Oh God.
So I hear you have problems with your mom. So was Mother's Day really awkward?
No, I mean, bring a picture of his mom, like framed, and just like we at the end of it, we actually brought you a gift. We thought you'd like to hang this in your cell.
Or bust out. No, bring a picture of his mom, but a little bit like blown up a little bit, like more of a bust shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then like, we brought you a gift. Hold on, we might want to make it a little bit more how you last remember, and just cut it off at the neck, and be like, "Here you go, buddy."
Or I'd wear a jacket and like at like right before the end of the interview, like it's really hot in these prisons. I pull it off and it says your mom listens to our podcast, and then on the back of it says no, she doesn't. She's dead because you killed her. I bet that
Who's
would
more
light 'em
fucked up, Ed Kemp or us, as we sit here and figure out how to fuck with Ed Kemp?
I promise you, there's no other podcast on earth that has talked about if they interviewed a serial killer, what kind of shit they would talk to him, how they'd get a rise out of the guy. You know?
Ugh.
Oh gosh.
You are just itching to bring bad juju on us, and it just terrifies me.
I ain't scared, dude. I ain't scared. I'm in it for the clicks, dude. I'm in it for the
for
views.
Do it for the gram.
need to get monetized in this mother. You know what I mean? I think that would. Could you imagine you go in, like you play off like serious interviewers, and you go in there, and you just fucking.
Bro, I'm telling you, if we're gonna do it, we got to do it like Zach Galifianakis on Between Two Ferns, because he's trying to do a serious interview, but it's nothing but shit talking.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure nobody's gone in there and asked him how he likes his eggs. You know what I mean? Do you like your water with ice?
I'd go in and ask him, like, what's a perfect Sunday morning for you? You know what I mean? I just like, what's a perfect Sunday morning?
What does Ed Kemper dream about? Oh man.
If you could have dinner with any one person, alive or dead, who would it be, and why is it your mom?
Oh man. Oh God. Yeah, I don't know if I would ask that one. I don't know if I'd go that far there, Mike. That's a little. I probably would.
You know, whoever reads the comments on this before they actually watch the video, they're gonna be like, "What the fuck?"
It's gonna make them want to watch it. Like, what are these fucking vile human beings talking about?
Oh shit!
I should just start titling instead of Talking Paranormal number 47 serial killers, Ed Kemper. It should be How Does Ed Kemper Like His Eggs? Tonight we find out on Talking Paranormal. Oh man.
There you go.
Ah, jeez.
Like, so doing crazy stuff in movies these days. What's your take on Fast and Furious?
Next note for you here. But I went through the whole investigation, the whole trial, no interviews with the media, right? And then this one woman who had treated me pretty fairly in the media, she was in this driven toward beating me with the newspapers. She tried to do a more in-depth piece around it. And so I did an interview with her before I went to prison. It was the day I was sentenced, and I was waiting for the car to prison here. And actually, wait a minute, excuse me. That was where I gave her the interview. Okay, I talked to her just briefly. She came. She was hovering around. I was at the jury room to the courthouse talking to my lawyer. He hadn't shown up yet. She was up there talking to the officer that was with me, and we all just had I said, my lawyer does not want me talking to the media at all. So, quick, I see him coming way down the hall. I said, let's set up a little scenario and act like I'm giving this really incriminating interview that screws everything up, right? And she kind of laughed because it was breaking the tension in the room, you know. So we set up this little scenario, and she's busily acting like she's writing, and I'm talking about all of this harebrained stuff that relates to the case and feelings, and he just starts turning bright red as he gets within hearing range. He's like a big clown, got this huge forehead, hair standing out all over, and now he turns bright red. And he says, "Matter, no wet hand." And he stomps into the room and slams his briefcase on the desk, and we all start laughing, and he gets really mad. I said, "What are you laughing about?" I said, "This is a setup just for you." I said, "I'm not doing any interviews." But later on, I gave her an interview because she treated me so fairly up to that point, and also had she gave me a pen that day. It was a cast aluminum ballpoint pen. And I took it back to my high security jail cell up in Redwood City. I was really slammed down tight. I'm in a 2-man cell by myself. They have a camera on me 24 hours a day, a monitor, videotape monitor. The lights are on. It's 2 sets of these 4-footers here. And it's as bright as day, all day long, all night long, 24 hours a day. And I was there for 5 months. And I brought this pen back in. I smuggled it in with me. And I get strip shook leaving the cell.
In his prison wallet.
Coming back in. And I brought this pen in, and it got in with my legal papers. And a few months later, in the middle of the trial, I smashed the pen on the floor with my boot, sharpened it, got a sharp edge on the metal, and slashed my wrist. And was bleeding all over the place. And it was very messy and very exciting, and everybody was dragging me off to the hospital, get sewed up and all of that. And I got maced, shot up with the industrial strength bottle of mace. They had about a quart of it, and they just gassed me with that whole thing and dragged me off to the hospital. And I made a quippy comment. I don't think the police translated it properly for the media because they missed it. They love, you know how they love to get into puns on broadcast television. They love these little verbal puns and plays with words. And the pen is mightier than the sword. I turned the pen into a sword and cut myself. Both times I attempted suicide, I did it with a pen or parts of a pen. And I thought that was kind of interesting, but the media never picked up on that. They were too busy being serious. But at any rate,
At what point?
once
All right. I'm done listening to this fucking psycho. I will say that he just proved my point that he's a chicken shit. Why? He wanted to kill himself. So
he went
wanted to
this way, trying to kill himself.
Yeah.
That's cry for help.
And if I'm gonna kill, if I want to die, if I really want to die, I will die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like he tried to be. He had to do it in the courtroom. You know what I mean?
And he had to try to get a pun out there.
Tried to get a pun out there. Tried to do it publicly. You know? Yeah. This fucking look at this piece of shit.
Just look at that guy.
I'm over it.
All right. Well, I think we can call it good there.
I think we can call it good. And also, I was looking at our StreamYard. It's doing something funny up at the top. I've never seen it do that. It's got a red box around. I don't know. Something's going on weird. I don't know if that means we got shut down or what.
On my end, it doesn't show. It just shows your the Wi-Fi signal keep dropping in and out.
Right.
I got the Facebook one pulled up, and it's still streaming just fine. Yeah.
Okay. I've never seen it do this before, but if we're still going, we're still going. That's great.
I'm checking YouTube real fast.
Yeah, check YouTube real quick. Make sure we're still going. I've never seen.
Yeah, we're still up on YouTube.
Okay, good. All right. I was a little worried there, and I was like, "Gosh, I hope it doesn't cut off." But that was a dark but fun discussion. I don't think, like I said, I don't think many people take their, we take a lighthearted approach to a lot of this shit here. It's really hard to take a lighthearted approach to something so serious, but
well, I mean, man, you could, what's the right words I'm looking for here? Like you could come at this super dark, super serious, like some people have done before. And I mean, and here's the thing, if anybody listening to this that thinks we're being inappropriate about the source material, 100% we're not trying to be. Like, we deeply respect the victims.
Absolutely.
And all the comments are geared towards the piece of shit that made them victims.
Yeah.
The gentleman doesn't deserve any respect whatsoever for what he did. And what he so arrogantly is like, I've done so much greatness since I've been locked up and helping people interview me. And then also, how fucked up are you as a person that you help a serial killer that confessed to being a serial killer pull off a practical joke?
Yeah, that's kind of fucked up, right? That really didn't hit me until just now. But yeah. That's how manipulative this guy is, I think. He might be charming. He might have charmed her into it. What kind of guilt does she have?
He's one of the he's dangerous like that. That's awesome. I mean, that's how he got the victims he got. Mm-hmm. He's super, super charming, and I mean, like I know individuals that are charming like that are huge pieces of shit.
For sure.
And they disarm you. They're disarmingly charming.
Let me ask you something. Does a guy like Ed Kemper deserve to be forgiven for his crimes?
No. Bro, I come across as a real easygoing guy, but I'm very much a hammer down on some folks. Like, I'm very much, we need to get back to some old school shit instead of housing these guys up for decades. Like, if they're found guilty, they're guilty, It's done. I don't feel like feeding him for the rest of his life.
No.
Just take him out.
There was a line in the Bible about eye for an eye, and I forget what it was. But I always thought it was an eye for an eye, and then I saw this. Hold on. Eye for an eye from the Bible. In Leviticus 24:19-21, it reads, "And if a man cause a blemish in his neighbor, as he hath done, so shall it be done to him. Breach for breach, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, as he hath caused a blemish in a man, so shall it be done to him again." But
hammer.
there was a little bit more to it. I think Jesus talked about it. It was like eye for an eye, and it was really good. Hold on. Damn it.
I'm talking some real Old Testament shit.
However, it does say if a man takes the life of any human being, he shall surely be put to death. But then it says something. Damn it. Never pay back evil for evil to anyone. Respect what is right in the sight of all men, if possible, so far as to it depends on you. Be at peace with all men. Never take your own revenge, beloved, but leave the room for the wrath of God, for it is written. God, where it was somewhere. It was really, really good, and I was like, wow, that's actually not a bad way of looking at it. But regardless, I don't know. I don't think he should be forgiven, obviously, for obvious reasons. And I don't think that, but it's like, does he deserve to suffer for the rest of his life imprisoned? Or should we just end him and give him that sweet release of not having to spend the rest of his life in prison? Because obviously he wants death.
Here's the thing, bro. I could care less if it's a sweet release for them.
Sure.
But they're getting 3 hots in a cot.
Yeah.
For life.
Sure.
While not working. I have to work to get breakfast. And possibly get to go to bed at night.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, like, I feel like we'd save some tax revenue.
Let me ask you this. What if he had never killed the co-eds? What if he had never killed his grandparents? What if he never killed the other lady, but he killed his mother and did exactly what he did because she was such a bitch? Still, she doesn't deserve to die. I'm not saying that. But does he deserve to be forgiven and understood for his crimes?
No.
10-4.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sure some folks are like, Matt's going to be the bleeding heart on this one. No. Like, unless you are taking a life to defend yourself or another innocent life, it's a no-go.
Yeah, I think it would have hurt his mother for him just to disappear and for her to never know what happened to him. More than cutting her head off and going reverse on it. I'm with you. Bullets are cheap. You know what I mean?
I who was it? Utah. They just did their last firing squad execution.
Oh, really? Oh, no shit.
Yeah, like I say it was probably a couple of years ago. Or so, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a controversial topic. It's a very controversial topic.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for forgiving some things. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for it. I'm all for the forgiveness. I'm all for we need to figure something else out for our prison systems, because I mean they're all overcrowded for meaningless bullshit lockups anyway on a lot of it. Now the folks that deserve to be there, cool, serve your time. But I mean, as far as and I mean, again, it's a controversial topic right now, so I don't want to go too much into it because I don't want us to get canceled. I want us to keep growing,
sure,
and everything else. But there's some crimes, and we all know the crimes. They should be put down the second they're found guilty.
100%. I agree 100%. I had to ask these hard questions because it is a topic of, is it inhumane to kill these people? I don't think so. What they did is inhumane.
They get executed more humanely than the people that they murdered.
They get executed more humanely than the people they murdered and the animals we eat. You know what I mean?
I mean,
I have to agree with Scott there. Yes, that's definitely one of
well,
them.
I mean, that's kind of the one I was aiming towards. But like I said,
Yeah.
there's some things you can't
Some
say
things you can't say.
it without it getting flagging, and then next thing you know, everybody's up our ass about.
Yeah, but I agree with what Scott's saying.
Yeah.
Especially crimes involving children. I put them up there with serial murderers. Kill them.
1,000%.
You know what I mean? There ain't even a maybe
was
attached. That's 1,000%. Take them out.
Texas or Florida, I think it was Florida, is working on passing execution for
Really?
child molesters. Mm-hmm.
Really? That is amazing. I will support Florida in that 100%.
Dude, all right, I'm gonna get on soapbox for a second, guys. I'm 100% pro DeSantis.
Okay.
Running for president, but he doesn't need to run right now.
Okay. He kind of scares me. There's something about him. There's something about him. I don't know. He's throwing a lot of good softballs out there. And
I think he's just tired of all the bullshit, man.
I hope so. I really do hope so. I just don't trust politicians, period. I don't
trust him either, but like I'm gonna be real, and this is gonna come and shock a lot of folks, I'm sure. Yep, it's Florida. We're stuck in a perpetual cycle right now, as far as politicians go. We're all swinging too hard for an overcorrection.
Yeah.
Like Biden was the overcorrection for Trump.
Fuck.
And now with Trump taking the lead in the early polls, if he can still run after all his legal shit's over, Trump's probably stands a really good shot for the overcorrection that is Biden. Like, we're just going to keep going back and forth. DeSantis, he's kind of that middle guy. Like DeSantis, Asa Hutchinson. I mean, those are some of the guys running this time that I wouldn't mind seeing in there, just because they're more of that middle of the road politician, and that's what we need right now. Like, we don't need the extreme one way or the extreme the other way. We kind of need that middle of the road guy that just wants to get in and get shit done.
I would like to see somebody who is extreme in the fact that he'll go out there and he'll say like something to the effect of, "Hey, I think all chimos should be put to death." You know what I mean? I think some drug offenses should be a slap on the wrist. I don't think somebody dealing weed should be put in jail for, when it was that way.
But we had that guy. We had that guy in Trump.
We
did. We had that guy.
Here's my problem with Trump.
Lay it on me.
Here's my problem with Trump. I'm big in I feel, and I got to watch my P's and Q's here. I feel like there's some very bad things being done to children on a wide scale level. And I think that a lot of people in high levels of power know about it. And I know Trump knows about it. I absolutely know Trump knows about it. And I would have respected him more for the shit that went down with Jeffrey Epstein. I think if he would have said, "Oh, he didn't kill himself. I've been telling you guys about the swamp for a while. Have I not?" Like, if he would have said something to the effect of that, or went harder on the Maxwell broad, there was a couple things he did where I was like, "All right, sweet." And there was a couple things where I was like, "Why is he so light on that?" I think they might have dirt on Trump. I think there might be something there that if he dug too far into one side, I think maybe some skeletons would come out of his closet. Now, did I vote for Trump? Yes, I did. Would I vote for him again? Yes, I would, depending on my choices.
Exactly. And the problem is you have some great choices.
Yeah.
But it's going to come down. What it's going to come down to is it's going to be, do I vote for these guys because I like them better? Or do I go for the vote for the guy that I know is going to be getting the most of the votes and just try to help push him the rest of the way, just so that we get that correction? And again, I think Trump's an overcorrection. I don't think he should have ran again. I'm just being honest. Like, I have no personal issue with the guy. I think he was out there. I think he shook a lot of things up, but I think he also stirred too much shit up.
Yeah, he just went about it the wrong way. That being said, I'm going to run for president in 2024.
I'd vote for you.
I'd blow it in some way, shape, or form. I'd fucking blow it. Or people would they'd dig up some old episodes of this shit.
Oh, bro, they'd be like, so you said you believe the government's going to fake an alien invasion, yet you're running for president. I'm going to stop that shit, yo.
I just think I think maybe some of these politicians go in there with good intentions. And I think that, I'm not saying all of them, I'm saying some may. And then they get corrupted along the way. And I think the thing with Trump was that he couldn't be corrupted because either A, you may believe that he was already corrupt, or B,
he had enough money that he didn't need their money to get corrupted by.
When you run in those I mean, the guy knew Jeffrey Epstein. He knew all these creeps. He never heard shit about it. Never heard a damn thing about it. He's talking about draining the swamp. I want specifics. Tell me what is involved in the swamp. Tell me. Tell me the shit. Tell me there's sadistic, satanic rituals going on with children, and that people in high levels of government are doing it.
Yeah.
If that's real, and I believe there's some shit going 1,000% maybe.
Yeah, you won't hear me disagreeing with that.
I don't know for a fact, and I don't have evidence. But that said, he's never said that there wasn't. You know what I mean? There was a lot of shit that he could have addressed with the QAnon shit and all that, where he could have just said, nah, none of that's true. As crazy as it sounds, and I hate those guys as much as you, none of that's true. It's not that crazy. It's pretty crazy, but it's not that crazy. Never said any of that. I don't know.
Freaking QAnon.
QAnon, right? That's a hole we'll have to jump in. That's a rabbit hole we'll have to jump in nose first here on an episode.
Birds aren't real.
I'm still waiting to do a really good flat Earth one. I've been looking into people that could actually try to convince us that the Earth is not round. We'd have to bring our A game. Maybe we'll have a debate between two people and be able to moderate it. That'd be fun. I'd like to moderate some shit.
I would love to moderate a debate.
Yeah. That'd be fun. And going back to the whole body language expert, I wouldn't mind having one of those on the show and just like clipping out certain interviews of serial killers and just having them like pull them up one by one and just see what the person thinks about it. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be fun.
Yeah, as the show evolves, we're going to come up with some fun ideas to make this show a little different than the other ones. But on that note, I'm pretty happy with this first true crime episode. I know that there's been some questions of whether that's really paranormal or not. To be frank, I don't think either of us give a shit. I think it's
that's the beauty of doing podcasting. Yeah. I mean, you just kind of talk like it's our show. We can talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about, and either you're going to listen or you won't. Hopefully you listen.
No, absolutely. And in my opinion, I think minds like Ed Kemper's are a little paranormal. You know what I mean? I'm actually really, after this episode, I'm really looking forward to the next episode. Do you think that science has locked down why people kill people like this, why serial killers exist? Do you think they have all the answers? Do you think science has answered it for us?
I don't think they have. I mean, because it's like you're trying to like give me 1 second. What you're trying to do is quantify evil.
Sure.
By figuring out how much evil a person has to have in them before they murder somebody. And I don't think there's really a way to do that. Because, I mean, look at this guy. He was loved by the community. Now, granted, that was a persona he carefully crafted so that people would love him. But still, I mean, there's not a way to quantify how much evil's in a person. That's a slippery slope. That's like coming up and saying, well, you thought about it, so you're guilty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So let's be real. We've all been caught in 5 o'clock traffic and thought about killing somebody.
The last time I thought about killing somebody is when I really had to do a number 2, and I went into the bathroom and I was like, there's 6 stalls, and I know this bathroom has 6 stalls, and I walked in and all 6 stalls were full, and I could tell that some of these guys were on their phones, and I was like, You're probably in there playing Candy Crush, not really taking a shit. Get the hell out. Some people really gotta go.
Get out.
On that note, I like this. I did really want this to be a 2-hour long first true crime episode. And going back to what we were just talking about, the definition of paranormal is essentially shit that can't be explained by science. You know what I mean? A lot of it's like deeper shit, but I do think that there's still a lot of questions about people considered evil that I don't think science has answered completely, and I think that's what gives us that little leeway. So, you know, I'm happy with this episode. I think we'll have to do more. Maybe we'll do like one a month or something. I don't know.
That's what I was thinking. Serial killer of the month.
Yeah, and our first one was this character right here. This fella, this large fella.
I absolutely feel like this is like the best starting point we could have had.
Yeah,
because I mean, everybody. Let's be real. Just about anybody would have started with either the Zodiac or Manson.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Nope, we went with Ed Kemper.
Yeah, and like I said, I really want to dive deep into. I think later on, we're gonna have to have an episode about the conspiracy theories involving the connections that some of these serial killers have and the similarities in their crimes.
Oh, for sure.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. But on that note, thank you all for joining us once again on Talking Paranormal. I had so much fun with this one. I didn't think I would. I
know you didn't. I know you're a little leery.
I was a little leery. Yeah. But I'm very happy. On that note, remember, folks, anything's possible.
Oh, Dutch is like, I want to know what next week's episode is. Guess what, Dutch? We don't even know.
We don't even know. Give us a topic. Next person to write something in the comments. We'll talk about that topic, and it better be fucking good.
You have until the clock hits 58.
58. You got 1 minute. And we cover conspiracy theories here too, so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Well, if there's a paranormal or weird angle or mysterious angle in any of this shit, we will talk about it. I promise you.
Okay, we're down to 40 seconds.
Yeah, 40 seconds. And if you're watching or listening to this after the fact, and you have a topic that you'd like to hear us cover on the show, you can reach us by emailing. Actually, no. Fill it out in the next comment section next week. Come watch the show.
The Unabomber killing himself. There we go. That was the first one.
The Unabomber going back into true crime. Okay. Yeah, because he's got there's some conspiracy shit about Ted Kaczynski. So
yeah. And we got
right.
Charles Manson being a CIA agent that got burned. Ooh, nice one, Sean. Did ancient Egyptians have hole saws? I don't know. I mean, they domesticated dinosaurs, so anything's possible.
I think Ed Kemper may have had a hole saw. On that note, remember, anything's possible. Don't stick your dick in a portal, or never mind. Matt, and what else do they need to remember?
It's 1,000% maybe out there, folks. Keep it real.
That's right. We'll see you next week right here on Talking Paranormal.
See y'all.